Hello and welcome back to the Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Billy.
I'm Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And welcome to our corner of the internet where we have news about lots and lots of stuff. Chris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing swell. I'm bringing a lot of energy to the show today. It's going to be great. I have just snorted a whole bunch of salt. So,
Well, that took an unexpected
I was
twice.
Michael sitting there just all anxious, bead sweating and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he about to promote drug use? Oh,
no. Just salt.
Wonderful.
Kills more Americans.
Yeah, that's true. But also, it's the primary means of gaming YouTube. Like you can't live on YouTube without salt. You need salt to survive.
That's gamers.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't just poop and pee. We also exude salt when we lose.
Yes, like the salt rock. We're basically just salt rocks.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think all that said exactly how well Mike's doing today.
Yeah, probably. Oh, yeah. I'm just like a block of salt. Anyways, let's proceed to the portion of this show where I ask you for money. We have a nice little Patreon page where you could get some cool perks and goodies like early access to shows, getting your comments, questions, and/or concerns read on the show if you wish, and exclusive content like the crazy long fucking recording me and Billy did last night. That's 4 hours long.
Yes, son.
And it's very, very good. It's also super long. We're gonna break it up into 3 sections, and you can get that over at patreon.com/ambassadors of gaming for literally $1.
College.
Yes, we would like to continue to grow the show, and to do so, of course, we need to ask for some money. But we also want to make sure that you feel taken care of, so we give you stuff in return for asking for money, like beggars.
Give me money.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah, please. I'm not adding a daddy tier, but
daddy.
Maybe it'll be an unwritten rule.
DAD-DY. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into the updates, announcements, and other miscellaneous news. So let's kick off with Chris. Chris, get started on the updates here.
What are you laughing for?
I don't know. I was just expecting you to say. I was expecting you to say, "Don't tell me what to do."
No, I'm feeling okay. I snorted a whole bunch.
He's starting to come down a little bit.
Yeah.
From his super aggressive nature.
Yeah. My eye is only twitching at like half my heartbeat speed. It's fine.
Oh, that's
he's mellowing out.
Yeah. Game Freak applies to trademark Little Town Hero. The Switch game made by the notorious Pokemon developers seems to be getting an official name if their recent filing is to be believed. We're unsure of Japan's copyright and trademark laws, but to draw a comparison to those here in the US, you can't trademark, patent, or copyright generic names and ideas like the zipper on someone's pants, or in this case, the working name for the game, which has been Town. Just straight up Town. But Little Town Hero kind of sounds cool. It makes me think of My Hero Academia, which is a very good anime.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea on their part. So
yeah,
I like the name Town though. I thought Town was a good name too.
Yeah, well, they can't.
But legal nature, all that kind of crap. So
anywho, Nintendo kind of, but not really allows people to upgrade their Switches to the new model. Reported by various outlets, Nintendo customer support said that the company would replace Switches bought after July 17th for the new model, assumably to get ahead of the inevitable, "Oh, I didn't know, I couldn't wait to get a new model" controversy. Nintendo has come out publicly to rebuke this claim and says that they are not offering such a program, possibly to avoid having to do as many swaps as possible. Interesting stuff.
The business thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it does kind of suck. It would have, it's one of those things. They wanted to do this update quietly because you can tell whether something is wanted to be known. Like they did a whole presentation for the Switch Lite.
Right.
And it could be possible because of what we've heard with multiple Switch models being made, the handheld model that we just got as a Switch Lite, and then the Pro. And it's very possible that they didn't want this to be confused with the Pro. So with the modest battery upgrade, they're just going to quietly update the spec sheet on their website and release it with a new box.
All right. And I
So,
think that would have been fine. And again, I don't even think it's necessarily wrong that they're like, we're not doing this, even if they are technically doing it. Because like you don't see Apple doing that. You know what I mean? Like nobody like if you go and buy an iPhone right now, but you buy it like a week before they announce the new one, Apple's not going to give you a new iPhone. You know what I mean? Like
Right, and even with
so,
the PlayStation 4 Pro, there was a revised model with supposedly, quieter kind of
yeah,
sounding
the fan and
operation,
all that.
the
Yeah.
fan, etc. That was released around. I think it was the one that came with Red Dead Redemption 2,
Uh,
or something like that. And
and they did
Digital
the same
Foundry
thing
did
with
like a
VR.
tailor. Yeah, yeah. So,
So
I mean, I
it's
don't
not
remember
uncommon.
unless you guys remember. I don't think Sony ever did like a kind of a program of like, oh,
No.
if you bought within like a week of the new model, the revised model. But model revisions happen all the time.
Right. But usually it's minor stuff. The only one that we mentioned was PSVR that's different because like they had to make something basically the PS4, the Pro, and VR were not designed to work together. Like the Pro is very obviously like designed way after the fact. Like it just like was something they just decided to do that they weren't ready for because HDR support was never planned for PS4 base. And then they implemented it and then they didn't include that option on PSVR. Like I have the original PSVR, the launch one, and it doesn't have HDR pass through. So if I want HDR, I have to unplug my PSVR and plug it straight into the TV. And it's really stupid.
Yikes!
So they
I
updated it
was going to make
quietly.
a really cool joke about exchanging a PlayStation for a better PlayStation. But now, if I say it, because you've been talking for so long, I don't think people will get the joke.
No, probably not. If it makes
Yeah.
you feel any better, I traded my PS4 in for the Pro, and it was the worst decision I've made this generation because my Pro runs
Really?
like shit. So
Mike, we've gone over this. I don't know what it is with how you live or what, but all of your technology poop so quickly,
yeah,
and mine just doesn't.
my PS4 base, amazing. Should have never traded it in. Should have kept the OG. It is running strong. Shouldn't have
My
betrayed old
PS4
Bessie.
runs well. Mine runs great.
Oh,
My PS4 Pro. But what I was gonna say, the joke I was gonna make was like not only can you not exchange your PlayStation for this newer model, but also our terms and conditions says your bank account can no longer purchase any other console aside from Sony ones, and we don't do crossplay.
Yikes!
So sorry.
you should have read the terms and conditions of PlayStation Plus.
Sorry, guys, but it looks like you're part of the problem.
Should
We
have
have a
read the
great
legal
selection
jargon.
of games on PS4.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. You
It's all
can.
right. I'm gonna move forward.
Who is it? I've totally got.
It's mine. It's
Okay.
mine. I'm gonna move forward. So,
Okay.
in a weird shakeup, Halo Infinite's creative director leaves 343. Tim Longo, creative developer on the upcoming Halo title, has left 343, according to Kotaku. According to Kotaku, it is a part of the leadership shakeup happening within the studio. The report seems to push the idea, without explicitly saying it, that Longo was let go. Microsoft offered Kotaku an official statement saying that additionally, Tim Longo has recently departed our team, and we are truly thankful for his many contributions to our game, our studio, and the Halo universe. We wish Tim nothing but the best in his future endeavors. The overall creative vision and production of the game remains led by Chris Lee, studio head of Halo Infinite. And that's the end of their quote. So
I guess
Aw.
that was a long old time coming, right, guys? Right.
he
Sorry,
apparently
sorry.
was also the creative director on Halo. They apparently moved him to a different position, and then they moved him from creative director to a different position, and that didn't work out. And I think he was just ultimately let go. Is kind of how I'm reading that based off of how I
Right.
know businesses operate. But they
Yeah.
don't explicitly say that. Tim Longo has not come out and said anything about that. So we just wanted to report on it from a creative standpoint because that's like it's a very specific position and they have very specific duties. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Corey Barlog was the creative director for God of War, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, but for all intensive purposes, he is like the brain behind God of War, and usually has been, of like
Yeah, like the
Kratos being
writing,
his character
the
and stuff.
directing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The writing, directing, the way the game ended up being is kind of his
Right.
vision. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that's ultimately what I wanted to point out is because it's like a very important position in a lot of games. So
Yeah.
but anyways,
Nintendo announces next Indie Direct. Indie World will be live streamed on August 19th at 2 p.m.
Greenwich Mean Time.
Thank you. By the time most of you are hearing this showcase, we will damn it.
Okay. That was a poor choice of words there.
By the time most of you are hearing this show, I'm sorry. I'm just yelling. By the time most of you are hearing this show, I keep saying it wrong.
You keep forgetting B. You just keep forgetting the. You could.
By the time most of you are hearing this, the showcase, likely, I'm gonna hit something. By the time most of you are hearing this, the showcase. Just give me just a sec, just to relax, because I'm getting so worked up over this.
He's getting frustrated.
All right. By the time most of you are hearing this, the showcase will likely have happened. Boom.
There you go. You nailed it.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Only took me like 5 tries.
Right. Okay.
Go and talk about our favorite game ever.
Oh yes. The greatest game released this year. The greatest game released this year. Anthem. Anthem. It's lead.
What's that? I can't hear you. Okay, I'm done. Go ahead,
Okay.
Please.
So Anthem's lead producer leaves BioWare. Ben Irving announced that after 8 years, he is leaving the company. In a string of tweets, he praises his time at BioWare and the team that works there. He also mentions that Anthem has a bright future. I do think that that's a lot of PR, though, personally speaking.
Yeah,
You know what is also bright? The sun. You know why it's bright? Because it's burning at thousands of degrees.
Millions of degrees.
So is that
Whatever,
analogy meant to suggest that Anthem has a bright future because it's burning into ash?
It's burning, yes.
I thought my hell joke was a little better, but
it probably was. It's a pile of flames. It's all poor Anthem.
So EA is a garbage.
They are really on the ball, as we'll see later. So
yeah, keep in mind you're gonna get an earful from me later.
Oh boy, it's gonna be great.
You prepare yourselves.
Let's talk about Bethesda and their continual ridiculous mistakes.
What?
The Doom re-releases no longer require a Bethesda.net login. The games launching on current gen had previously forced players to log into a Bethesda account to be able to access the game. However, the most recent update has made the login no longer required to play. That was one of the stupidest things they did in a while.
Yeah, but that suck. No, they don't suck. They made Skyrim. They don't suck. But that sucked. That was stupid.
Yeah. Glad it's fixed, though.
I have grown to be cautious of Bethesda.
Yeah.
In current times. So
I mean, well, their last game was great. So No Man's Sky Beyond releases to both praise and bugs. And if you're unaware, No Man's Sky, I believe last year had their really big game fixing update, which was No Man's Sky Next, which was, and it really did wonders for the game. It got off to a really rocky start. It was Itchy Ears Anthem, basically. It was Itchy Ears Anthem, only there wasn't some. Well, no, there were a lot of bugs. Remember, we played it for one day. It
crashed ridiculously.
We played for I think 3 hours and it crashed 4 times in that time.
Yeah, it was really bad.
But the game's most recent quote mega patch end quote has brought a whole slew of new elements, including multiplayer and VR to the PSVR, if you really like vomiting in your computer chair. However, it seems that for players that there were stability issues that caused the game to crash. Hello Games has come out to address this and already released a hotfix for the game. However, they do plan to bring a bigger stability patch as soon as possible. Just give them some time. It happens. Right. These things happen.
I think we're more willing to forgive Hello Games now on the bug issue because they're like, if this were any other company, they'd be like, oh, here's this big expansion that's $40 for the game we released 3 years ago. You know,
the fact that it's free kind of makes some of the kind of rockiness a bit. I mean, I don't want to say like forgivable because that makes me sound like I'm just forgiving every mistake that's ever made by the company. And of course, some things should be fixed. Some things should be working like on release. It shouldn't be a thing where we
Right.
should expect it to be so broken to the point that you can't have fun and then be like, oh well, it's free, so it's okay, kind of thing. Like
Right.
there should be a demand or a kind of expectation of quality, I guess, you know?
Okay. Who's next? Is it me? It's probably me.
Yeah, I interrupted, and it's probably going to make for some interesting editing. My bad.
Whatever. No big deal.
No,
No, it's Billy.
Yes.
it's Billy.
I think it's me. Yeah, it's
Okay.
me. Just before I get started on the next news item, I did have to kind of pause my recording because I had to take a call real quick. But yeah, that should be fine. Like you'll know when you hear my recording, it should be fine. Um, but anyhow, Minecraft Super Duper Graphics Pack is cancelled. Oh dear.
Oh,
The team at Mojang
I
officially
think it's
announced
Billy.
it's Mojang, right? Because
I
they're
think
a
so.
European team. I think this finished or something like that. The team at Mojang officially announced the cancellation of the pack on its site, stating that the company simply was not seeing the time of performance they had hoped on all platforms to actually implement the pack, especially considering that they had recently did say recently, but when they did the Better Together update.
Bedrock
um,
Edition, where all the things are cross-platform.
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like if it's difficult to. I mean, you want to make sure it's as consistent across all platforms as possible. I kind of get it on a technical level. You don't want to have things be rocky on a single platform that you kind of that has less power than say the X, for example. You want it to be consistent across the board. And I think I read somewhere else they said they're looking at other. I think maybe it's just PR. I mean, it probably is just PR, but they're saying they're looking at other ways of kind of making it look better rather than doing that super duper graphics pack. I mean, it still sucks that it's cancelled. I was quite looking forward to it, even though it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Minecraft. But
I
It
love
looked
playing
nice.
some Switch Minecraft.
It looked really
yeah,
nice. I was looking
yeah,
forward to it, but it is what it is. I think it's a mobile thing, personally.
mm.
Like probably like a Switch mobile thing where it's just like we can't really get it to run well on those. Because the PS4 doesn't have the Bedrock edition, correct?
I have no
No,
idea.
I think it's the only one that's excluded.
yeah, because Sony.
What a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sony doesn't want to play nice. Whatever.
Mhm.
Um, to move forward, Daisy is being edited on all platforms in all countries to address its problems in Australia. The company announced that it is willing to comply with the Australian rating board and edit the game globally so that it can sell the game in Australia. This is a simple fix by removing the rumored drug use from the game. That's
This
pretty
is a
much it.
follow-up from last week's
Yeah,
story.
pretty much. It's just literally an update. They were just like, okay, we're just gonna remove the like joint thing and just publish the game. So,
Wowzers.
which was like, it was like something that somebody pulled from the source code or source code.
Source
So
forward.
yeah, you know what I meant.
Yeah,
So
it's
not
called
really
the
much to say on that.
umbilical.
You. It's a gross word. Anyways, Quantic Dream will put games on more platforms and wants to publish more games. This is just an update to Quantic Dream's original announcement about wanting to go multi-platform. Speaking with DualShockers, David Cage said the company will not have exclusivity as a staple of its games, but on a title by title basis, and that the company would like to publish games as well. Basically, the idea is that he would like to publish the types of games that they're making. You know what I mean? Like kind of to
Awesome. Yeah.
promote those more like artistic, uh, different sort of kind of games, more heavily story based and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's good. I mean, a lot of people, fanboys primarily, were kind of using the whole split. Well, I'll say split, kind of parting ways from Sony as like ammunition, like fodder for their arguments and debates. But it's good. Like a studio's doing what it thinks is best for itself. It wants to
right,
have more creative agency, and that's always a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So I like those kind of games. I'm very intrigued by those kind of games. So if we
right.
get more of those kind of games because they have more of that autonomy, then more power to them, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
I
I
agree.
think I'm in agreement with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. An SNES style controller has been spotted for the Nintendo Switch. As we're approaching the 1 year anniversary of the launch of the NES style controller for the Switch, those ones that have the shoulder buttons and they slide onto the side of the Switch just like the Joy-Con to charge.
Mhm.
An FCC filing has spotted something similar for an SNES style controller. There has been no official announcement for SNES games coming to the Switch online library. But
Dun,
they are
dun.
looking for more ways to get people to do the subscription service, their
Yeah.
online subscription service. We reported on, I think, sometime months and months ago, that Nintendo was upset that people aren't buying this thing on the long term. They buy it for maybe 1 or 2 months to play a game, and then they
They're
could buy
not
it on a
staying
month-to-month
invested.
basis. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not staying invested, and for good reason. You know,
Yeah.
The NES
though,
library is fine, but it
but
doesn't keep
that's just
me.
it. You hit it on the head right there. Like when we buy games, we get Games with Gold gives you some really great deals. Same thing with the PlayStation Plus games. But you just say to
Right.
yourself, the NES games are fine, yes, but they're
Yeah.
not. No one is gonna see that and go, "Oh my god!"
I have to
Like
get this.
I need to get these now. When you can play them on Virtual Console on other titles on your 3DS, which I'm
You
sure,
can buy the mini, or you can emulate them.
yeah, you can
Like,
emulate them. You could buy the classic editions of the NES or SNES. And the same thing if you have a 2DS or 3DS, a lot of those games were ported there too.
right, and you just buy them and own them forever.
Yeah,
Like, instead of worrying that they might eventually get kicked out of that service, which they might. They haven't
yeah.
done it yet, but it may happen at some
But
point.
we have that. We've also been worried about that for other subscription services,
Yeah,
like
with Game
like
Pass.
Game Pass.
Yeah, and it
Stuff
hasn't happened yet. I don't think.
It hasn't
I don't.
happened yet, but
Yeah.
it could.
We'll see. It depends. I think Ubisoft, because they're launching their own, that would probably be the first one to go. If anybody was, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Is the Division 2 on Game Pass?
No,
Nope.
Okay. I was just curious.
I don't think any real live services are on Game Pass. I'd have to look.
Apart from I was gonna say Black Desert Online. No, Black Desert Online is. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that was
Black
it.
Desert is, and so is Rocket League. Those are the only two I
Yeah.
would be able to name off the top of my head.
Yeah. Other than
All
that, I'm
right.
not sure. But
Billy,
anyhow,
move us on.
game announcements and release dates. Bubble Bobble 4 Friends announced. It's releasing November 19th, 2019 in Europe on the Switch and releasing Q1 2020 in North America. So America gets shafted yet again on the game
Yeah.
release.
Well, keep in mind, yeah, that's
Not
also
Bubble Bobble.
that's also 2020 of the fiscal year, which means
Right.
it'll probably be somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably don't have a set
Oh.
release date for it. I would know this is going to sound really stupid, but correct me if I'm wrong, Billy. In their advertisement for this game, they wrote the date format exactly like that in the American format. Instead
What,
of
no-
instead of writing it day, month, year, they wrote it month, day, year. And I'm like, don't you guys pretty much exclusively use the day, month, year format?
Yeah, well, Brexit's happening and we're about to become
that's true.
America's stooge. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough, I guess. Big Daddy America, we want to come back.
That was the
Right.
best thing. I love that.
Oh Lord, that's so funny. All right, let's move into the real news, the big boy news of the week, and of course we have controversy because why wouldn't we?
Yeah, there's plenty of it.
Yeah, I get the best one.
Wait, is
the
there
easiest
anything
one.
positive in the news?
No,
Nope.
everything is horrible.
Nope, it's all awful, and it gets worse as it goes down.
That's
Holy
the worst
crap.
part. That's the worst part. It escalates to a level
It
that
gets
you would not
worse and
expect.
worse. Oh,
Oh
I
my
love
God.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I
So-
don't love it, but you know what I mean. Go.
So Fortnite had a new pet in the store, and it made some people angry. So let me give you some context so you can understand why somebody might be upset about that. Fortnite launched a new pet that is a literal reskin of an item from a previous battle pass, something Epic repeatedly markets as something that is exclusive to each season, with items never being released outside of it. The pet in question was a reskin of a dog from a previous season and cost 1,000 V-Bucks. In real money, that's like $10.
Mhm.
Epic has since pulled the skin and will refund all players after removing the item entirely from the game and give players an additional 200 V-Bucks, $2, which you really can't do much with, to be honest. All Epic has said officially outside of scrubbing the item from the game and refunding players was that we should not have released the gunner pet and apologize for doing so. So a very half-ass apology. To play devil's advocate, though, the company has recently been pushing updates to older skins for players who own those. And this may have been an internal idea that was supposed to happen. Maybe it was supposed to get scrapped. Maybe it was put on the store by accident, or maybe they're just being greedy. Ultimately, we don't know because we don't have enough information. But that's kind of where that sits at.
So when it comes to Fortnite, I feel like they don't make a lot of really crowd or fan angering mistakes very often.
No,
I
this
think that
season they have, but
this
not
season,
generally.
yeah.
Yeah,
And of course, when they did that update with the matchmaking and the groups and
yeah,
everything, I know that upset people. But I'm saying in general, it's not like Fortnite brings a whole bunch of angry news.
right.
In general,
So
their fans are not kind of
They're
pitchfork
usually pretty pleased. Yeah,
and kind of
yeah.
running after
That's
them
what I'm
or
trying
anything
to
like
say.
that.
And the fact that we report the news once a week, and
yeah. We rarely ever talk about it.
we haven't had angry Fortnite news in a while, if I recall.
Right.
Right.
I
So
generally try to avoid talking about Fortnite if possible because just one, we're not like that topical. I don't want this to be Fortnite the show, but
no,
also
but at the
like,
same time, it is a trending game topic. So you kind of
all right,
you can't have it exactly like that.
It's
right,
quite a
but
hot
us,
button topic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
there was another story about the mechs. I don't know. You guys don't really play from what I
I've
know
read
of you.
about the Max. I've seen
Yeah,
how
people are
people are.
mad about the mechs
Yeah,
basically. And they're unfortunately they structured this season in a way that they can't really do anything about it. Like they can't just remove them. They would have to like make a whole bunch of changes to the game basically to
the
do that.
game was balanced with those mechs in mind. Correct?
Yes,
Is
and
that how
also
it
your
works?
challenges are some of the challenges are set to mechs. Like you have to do things with a mech. So like you kind of need them, you know. Um Otherwise you can't complete the challenges. If you can't complete the challenges, you can't get your reward, which is the whole point of paying for the battle pass. So, um, it's one of those things where I didn't feel that was important enough to talk about here because I don't really play that much, and it's been beaten to death um, by that community. But this, on the other hand, is a little bit different because they had something similar with a skin that was like it was a different style, but it was the same character. Like the skins are characters in Fortnite, so like that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
how they do their environmental storytelling. And they pulled
Yeah.
one from a previous battle pass, and that really like upset people. Um, I kind
Well,
of
yeah, if they're advertising that each thing is exclusive to a battle pass and then
right,
resell it later, it
right.
peeved me when was it Infinity Ward that did that with Modern Warfare? They said you could only play Modern Warfare by buying
Oh
it with Infinity War or Infinity
yeah,
War. What did
I
I
know what you mean. Infinite Warfare. Yeah,
Infinite Warfare? Thank you. And
yeah.
then they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, we're releasing this. Here you go.
Separate. Yeah,
Yeah,
but they wanted to make sure they could get as much money as possible by people buying Infinite.
yeah.
Um, you know. So I totally get where you guys are coming from with that, but I don't. There's not really a lot to talk about with that other than like don't just say one thing and then do another thing. Just do what you say you're gonna do, and most people 9 times out of 10 aren't gonna have a problem with you.
Yeah, you're going to be
Like,
Right.
pulling an
If you're
EA.
transparent, if you're transparent from the jump, right, and people don't mind what it is you're doing, and you're transparent about what you're doing, then I mean, it's
right,
not rocket science. People aren't going to get outraged about anything. Then I mean, but it's a deceptively simple calculus, isn't it? But
yeah,
the way society works now, I'm sure, as you all know, there's always something that people are going to be enraged about. So
of course.
what to
You
do,
want
eh?
something to be enraged about? How about we move on to the next topic?
Like this is
Okay.
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah. You
horrible.
get ready. You get ready.
I am, unfortunately.
I'm going EA. It's happening. Brace yourself. Before we start this, I want to point something out. When Apex Legends released, Respawn was very adamant saying that EA had nothing to do with their game. They basically
Yes.
said they gave us money, and that's it.
Yeah, they gave us funding and we did everything.
At the time, EA probably needed that because its image was even worse than it is now after the whole Battlefront situation,
And it
still being
launched
a little
what,
bit more
a month
fresh.
before Anthem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
They
were
were
like,
doing damage
okay.
control ahead of time.
So they were like, dude, just tell them, you guys did it. We want you to distance yourselves from us temporarily. So they said they had no hands. They didn't take a poop in the punch bowl, as the South Park bit would say.
Fair enough.
Until now, because there is a monetization system that has EA written all over it. So let's get into it. Respawn's new event pretty universally pissed off everyone. The new event featured a limited time solo mode, which has been a long requested game mode, and a slew of new cosmetics players can earn from loot boxes, but you don't really earn them. You can earn 2 of them, but that's in a sec.
Yeah.
The reason this attracted more attention than usual is due to the insane way you gain access to buy the most exclusive rare items in the event. Players can earn by actual in-game. They can
Through
only
pure
earn
effort.
that through your own sheer will can earn 2 out of the 24 loot boxes with
So
no chance
generous.
of duplicates because there's a set number of items in the event.
Right.
Nice.
The rarest item, though, is an heirloom set for the Bloodhound. But in order to get that, one has to collect every single item out of those 24 crates.
Mm-hmm.
So out of the 2, you have to spend about $7 each in US dollars. $7 each per loot box. And then, oh great, hey, now you can get the heirloom set. But guess what? You don't just get it. You have to buy it as well. Which is like
Right.
35 US dollars. So to get everything, after earning your 2 loot boxes, you need to pay around 170 US dollars or 136 euros.
Pounds.
Yikes.
Sorry.
That's a pound? I thought that was a
Yeah,
euro.
that's a pound. No, euro is like a weird E, right? I think.
Yeah, Euro's like an E with like 2 strikes in the middle, and then a pound
Yeah.
is like
I
it's
could have
almost like it's
sworn-
almost like the pound was trying to be the euro, but then it decided to be something different at the
Okay,
last
because I
minute.
could have sworn that was a euro.
You
That's
know
my
what?
bad.
I'm
I'm
gonna
an
go
idiot.
make my own euro, and it's gonna have blackjack and hookers.
170 US dollars or 135 pounds.
Yeah.
Just about. Respawn's Drew McCoy wrote a post on the developer site to address the controversy. McCoy stated that the company missed the mark and broke their promise. He also mentioned that the developer needs to do a better job of communicating with players about the event. So basically, they wanted to give you some heads up before they try and nickel and dime you. The most important bit is that McCoy specifically mentions future event collections will allow players more ways to earn items than buying packs. Yeah. McCoy specifically mentions the pay model, saying, oh, it's kind of ironic I just said that. Quote, our goal has not been to squeeze every last dime out of players, and we have structured the game so that all players benefit from those who choose to spend money. Events like Legendary Hunt or Iron Crown exist so that we can continue to invest creating more free content for players. So they're basically saying, we're sorry, but at the same time, if you buy it, we'll
We can
keep
keep
doing more free
making
stuff.
this
They're
game.
saying, we're sorry we did it, but can you still buy it so that we can
Let
do
me-
more?
Yeah,
Let
they
me
kind
asterisk
of
this
say,
real quick.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Just
Please.
because before we get into it, because there was another additional thing that I did not add in here because I didn't think it was relevant, but as you were discussing it, I thought it was important. He in the on Twitter, people said, okay, but like doing this now and then making it right later doesn't matter. Like, especially if we can, what this person mentioned specifically was earning every in-game item, was being able to access and earn every in-game item. And he basically said, we can't make everything free. If we do, we can't make any money, which means we can't support our business, which isn't wrong. But also, like, the way you worded your previous statement on your blog post is that you were going to figure out a way to try to make it so that even if it was super, super grindy, you could earn stuff.
Yeah,
That's
you can't
not-
have it both ways.
Yeah,
He's
you
sitting
can't have your
there-
cake and eat it too. Like, not
Yeah.
like that.
He's saying
So-
one thing and then saying something else on some other platform, which is awful.
Right. Don't do
Everyone's Apex, in my opinion, has been the closest competitor that Fortnite's ever had, at least now. But it
In
was
terms of
PUBG.
popularity, yeah.
It was PUBG. PUBG died down, and now the most recent contender is Apex.
Right. Black Ops was doing pretty well, but Apex is the only one that's like really on par with Fortnite being a battle royale, being free, having a battle pass. You know.
This story genuinely upset me because I really liked Apex. Fortnite was fine. I'm not hating on it to try and sound, oh, I hate it because it's popular. I tried the
Yeah.
building mechanic. It wasn't really my thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
fair.
it's a very popular game, and you and I have played it a few times. Mike,
Yeah.
I played with you. I really enjoyed Apex. I liked the fast-paced movement, just similar to Titanfall.
Right.
But this does not shock me at all.
Yeah.
I'm really sad by this. That Respawn, and now this sullied me forever buying a Titanfall game now too, because now I'm afraid that they're saying EA had no hand in this. This is has
EA written
anyone?
all over it. Yeah.
This is EA. This is
Yeah.
very clearly EA.
Yeah.
And yet they're
It's
adding
very-
a PR spin to make it out as if it's not EA, but it's Respawn's kind of own autonomy making this decision.
Yeah, of like, oh, we had to
No.
make this decision because we have to make money. I'm
Mm.
sorry, but let me put it this way: like, when it comes to the way video games are made and manufactured and published,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous that you can't apply a little bit of a socialist mentality to it under a business umbrella. Because, like, let's look at, I'll use Amazon as an example. Amazon for years hemorrhaged money. It was making hand over fist money, but it was also hemorrhaging it in other business ventures, trying to expand and make new, better products, services, things like that. Right. They bought Twitch, they're invested in the drones, all these things. EA makes FIFA and Madden. They make billions of dollars every year. They could very easily subsidize Apex. You know what I mean? In terms of like, okay, we
Yeah.
will sell these items, but also if you really want to spend, make it absurd. 500 hours. You want to grind
Okay.
for 500 hours and get these items, go for it. But to say that, like, okay, we can't survive without these microtransactions, just is not true when your company has billions of dollars
Can
in
I
profit
comment?
every year.
I comment
Sure.
something. I watch Inside Gaming. I do a lot.
Sure.
And I think their stories are really good. And they didn't, for one, they pointed out that 28% of EA's entire revenue comes from FIFA Ultimate Team. One mode in one game.
Right.
28% of their entire income. But what they also point out is that FIFA Ultimate Team was implemented over time. That's why we don't hear complaints over it.
Right.
There's two different options. You can go in and play some normal online, or you can go and play FIFA Ultimate Team. Like,
Right.
they don't force it on you. And on top of
Yeah.
that, this feature evolved over time, and now people are just used to it in FIFA.
Right.
People who frequently play FIFA. So you don't hear anything about it. You don't hear anyone complain about it. But now what they're trying to do is they're trying to take that and
put
go
it
like,
everywhere.
okay, well, let's just force it everywhere.
'Cause it
Okay,
works.
and then that's what they did to Battlefront 2. And
Right.
look what
And it
happened.
doesn't work.
And it's the same thing here. They're looking at it going, it works for FIFA. Why won't it work here?
Yeah.
Because that's fine for a business mentality. I understand where you may come from as a business, but you also have to understand the mixture of our medium. It does not work that way in terms of games are the outlier in a lot of business scenarios. Like, it's not because, and FIFA is the worst of it, in my opinion, because at least if FIFA Ultimate Team followed you and it was like an account thing, it wouldn't be so bad. But people spend thousands of dollars every year by themselves on FIFA and then do it again next year
Yeah.
because none of their shit transfers over. At least with Apex, your stuff does, but it's still like,
Yeah,
I don't-
we're not here to argue game
Business.
versus game. But
right.
it's the fact of the matter that this is very clearly a very horrible monetization strategy. Look at what Bungie just did. Bungie
Right.
lost their publisher, and now they're not, you know what I mean? They split, and now
Right.
they're making it so that you actually spend less money in their stores.
Exactly, but they still want to encourage you to spend money because we discussed this before the show because we almost talked about their update. And it draws good comparisons to this update of like they came out and they're like, look, to make I don't remember how exactly you phrased it, but basically to make shit happen, we need to have continuous funding. And to do that, those of you who want to support us through microtransactions and buying these little things and knowing what you're getting and it being a more fair transaction and it
Yeah.
not feeling like we're nickel and diming you.
It's awesome because, and
Yeah.
like we said, and then once you have it once, say you delete it, you can go back in your collections and buy it for just the in-game currency that you have. So you only spend that premium currency once, and you
Right.
can have this as many times as you want. You can have it 5. You can have it on all 3 of your characters. You can have 3 of them, and then they only charge you like once for it, which
here's
is
the
great.
thing.
This is like the polar opposite.
Can I pitch a hypothetical to you, gentlemen?
Hang on. Before you pitch the hypothetical, Billy, you've been really
Yes.
silent while Mike and I argue.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, microtransactions are evil. They should be stopped at all costs. But it's just the kind of you know, not
It
being
doesn't sound like
genuine.
you're having fun articulating your thought.
It's just kind of think it's one of those topics, isn't it? It's like it's it's so prevalent in the industry
People,
now.
microtransactions aren't going anywhere. At
They're
least
not going
loot
anywhere.
boxes might,
Look, I
depending on
mean,
gambling.
from a business point of view, businesses want to make more money. They will never not want to make more money than they already have. Like Mike said a little earlier, that EA turns over billions of dollars a year. They could subsidize it. EA don't care about that shit. EA
No,
just
they don't.
care about making the next $1 billion. They don't care about subsidizing for
Yeah.
any of their subsidiaries whatsoever. Like they're never going to do that. And there's nothing that's going to change their view on that. They're just like, we make billions of dollars. We're going to keep making billions of dollars. We're having
Right.
fun. I mean, I mean, to kind of sidetrack a little bit, it's like you also mentioned Amazon, right? They
Right.
lost a lot of money. They hemorrhaged money, but now they're doing really well. And it's like the whole argument of why aren't they paying taxes kind of thing. It's like,
Exactly.
it's like you make a lot of money, you can, but you still don't. What's up with that? It's because even though you've got so much, you want to hold on to all of that money that you have, kind of thing. And EA is just that kind of company. It's unfortunate,
Right.
but as long as a studio is kind of beholden to such a company, such a publisher, it's gonna
Yeah.
be a recurring problem
It,
where studios are, I mean, and this is all PR at the end of the day. They're
right.
trying to spin it, they're trying to make it out like it's we must keep the game afloat, and to keep the game afloat, we need to make money, and to make money, we need to have microtransactions. It's like it's trying to add a kind of, it's playing on the humanity of the gamers, if there ever was such a thing, but it's
Right.
playing on the humanity in that, makes you think, oh, you know what, I do really like this game, and maybe I should support it financially, even
That's
though kind of,
great.
you know,
That's what that's the kind of thing that I want to think, but this isn't an example of that. This
Right.
is
yeah,
them
exactly, yeah.
very clearly gouging them, saying, "Hey, I've got this in-game event, but you want the good stuff? You're not going to get
Yeah.
any,
Chaos.
at least not the
Yeah.
majority of it."
It's almost manipulative in nature,
is.
and I
It's
don't
not
mean to say
almost
that's like
manipulative
as
at
like a
all.
mean thing, but it's like, oh, if you want our game to keep being a game and a thing, but you have to buy this shit, or somebody has to buy this shit. We don't really care who, you know.
But just buy this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, just somebody
Yeah.
needs to buy this shit, and it's like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Like, here's the thing. This is the hypothetical I wanted to pitch to you guys, and I don't. Chris and I have had the discussion. I know you hit on it earlier, Billy, of microtrans being evil in general. I don't necessarily believe that. I just think
I
that
agree.
people they don't know when to stop. They don't know when to be like, okay, we've clearly pushed the envelope too far. Like if hypothetically, this is what I wanted to pitch to you guys. If Respawn came out and they were like, okay, it's $40 for all of these cosmetics. It's a limited time thing, but it's $40. That's a lot of money, right? Like, that's still a decent amount of money. But you get whatever, 27 items for all of the characters, or just whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
That while we could still have that argument of like, that's an absurd amount of money, we could at least be like, okay, like that's an absurd amount of money, but at least you know what you're getting. You can actively choose whether or not to engage with it instead of just like, oh, here's some free shit to try to get you in the door to buy it.
See,
And
this is
then-
it though. This is the truth though, isn't it? It's the autonomy of the player. Like the player should have the choice of purchasing it or
But
not. And
that's-
the game quality and the game experience should not suffer as a result of that.
But that's
That's
the
the
argument.
point.
This is
Yeah,
the
exactly.
constant argument where
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, well, you don't have to do it."
Mm.
Right. And it's like, okay, but yes, we are not forced. Nobody's literally going to force my hand and push the buttons to purchase the items. However, you have implemented game development and strategy and marketing resources into making it seem worthwhile for me to purchase these, because nobody
Yeah.
sells something unless you want to buy it. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not why you sell something. You sell something to make money. Period.
Yeah.
End of story.
Supply and demand. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And no offense, I have the same argument about I have the same problem with card games, but at least with card games, there's a better understanding of the physical nature of the good, right? Like, it probably costs I don't know how familiar you guys are with card games, but it probably only costs like maybe 20 to 30 cents to make a card, right? Realistically, like to print it and put them all in a
Realistically,
pack and
yeah.
ship them, right?
Yeah.
So like realistically, a card that is worth $200 costs them the same amount to make as a card that costs 50 cents. You know what I mean? Like,
So
Yeah,
look at the
like
profit margin. Look at that profit margin.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. But there's a tangential thing, you know what I mean, that gets to stay with you.
I
And
think he's saying, are you trying to go for tangible?
yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. My English is terrible today. So there's a thing that you have, right? It's your thing, and you can use it however you want.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, if somebody bought all of this stuff on Apex and they were just like tomorrow, oh, we're sorry, we're shutting it down. That's it. Your money's gone.
Okay.
Everything's gone.
I think that we have touched on this story very long. I think
Right.
we should
I think we
probably
finished
move on. One
with it.
thing I just want to end it with is loot boxes might not be here forever, but microtransactions most definitely will.
Yeah. They're not
Agreed.
going away. So
All right, Billy, take us on to the absolute. I mean, we kind of made the last story sound like the worst news ever, but this is
this
pretty
is
bad.
actually worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Square Enix is hit with death threats. In our weekly Don't Be a Total Piece of Garbage Human Being section of the show this week, we unfortunately have to report on the terrible threats affecting those who work at Square Enix. There has been a string of threats to the Japanese publisher, with many emails coming to them talking about people wanting to cause harm to employees. The company has had to cancel their upcoming Starwing Paradox tournament due to security risks and repeated threats.
Okay.
Yikes.
Mike, you're well endowed on this story, correct?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
our
I
resident Square
read
Enix.
a little bit more as I discussed with you guys before the show.
Yeah.
One of the most recent ones out before this was a guy that just sent them an email that was just like, "I'm gonna kill you all, and I'm gonna kill myself after I do it." And it was because he spent like $1,800 in a game and didn't get the thing he wanted. And I'm like, dude, it's really not that serious. It's it's just this. I can't ever justify that. Like, no, don't get me wrong. Like, we just railed on EA, right? But we're not like they should all die. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it never gets that far. We never cross that line. We get
right?
angry at them. We get impassioned about it. But crossing the line is just no one should ever condone that, or even. I mean, you can understand annoyance at a company for certain actions that they might do, but never cross that line, my dude.
Yeah, because even the threat of that violence is like, don't get me wrong. Japan is this is all in Japan, so right, like they have a different judicial system than what we know in the Western world and what you have in the UK and what we have in America, and it's one of those things where like they take offenses differently. Sometimes, even offenses that wouldn't destroy your life in America or in the West could destroy your life in Japan. Like
Yeah.
drug use. We've talked about drug use before. Like drug
Yeah.
use could literally end your life. Like in Japan, like it's gonna be very difficult for you to work after that period. End of story. Um,
Yeah, that part of the world is quite. I was actually talking to one of my mates here, and it's quite an image centric area of the world where
yeah,
just that whole region, whether you're talking South Korea, Japan, China, etc.,
right,
is very image centric. They're all about outward appearance and outward kind of the view that other people have of you, of your organization, of your company, of your studio, whatever it is.
right.
So, with that being said, if that image is tarnished, quite it's quite troublesome in that part of the world. Not as much. I mean, we take it for granted how much it's like, oh, your image can be tarnished, but then give it some time, let the dust settle, and then you're right back into the
Right.
swing of things here. But over there, it's
But
a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it?
yeah, but to complement what you're saying, they also live by what they speak, I think, which is the
Yeah,
major difference. So like
yeah.
when they apologize for something, 9 times out of 10, it's legit. It's not the same thing we just talked about with EA where it's like, oh, I guess we're sorry.
An
You know what I
empty
mean?
apology. It's never an empty apology.
Yeah. So like one of the things that I've seen, and it's unrelated, but it's based on what you were talking about. What they call it is honor society. They have a very honor based society. So I th- I think it's in Japan or China where a certain bank, to prove your identity, you can use nude photos. Like that's like a thing for them that apparently is like a security measure. That's
Yeah.
not something we do in the West because sometimes people just send nude photos to people they don't even know. Like,
Right. Right.
so
Yeah.
That would be a
that's just
major
like,
security risk. Yeah.
Worst
yeah.
4th of July ever.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, like it just to draw the comparisons so people really understand that, like, when they say these things, they mean them in more aspects than necessarily here in the
It's
West.
more genuine. Let's say it's more genuine, more
Right.
kind of meaningful. The apology.
And we've just seen a lot of really we don't I don't think we hit on it too hard when it happened. But there was the Kyoto animation arson, um, where a guy just tried to burn down their studio for whatever reason, and people died. Like, so I totally understand why Square would be like, dude, we can't. I'm not taking that risk as a business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
There was the Madden thing last year. Um, so I 100% get where they're coming from with this, even in general, because they had to beef up security at their office too.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, just on a bit of a side note, it's a shame. I mean, it's bad anyway. Like, just generally as a news item on its own, these kind of things are terrible. But the idea that a gamer who's angry at a company would go out and do that, it doesn't really help the narrative of video games make people
I
violent.
was literally just
Yeah.
about to say it. I was just
Yeah.
about to say it. That does not help this whole. I mean, studies have already proven it, but it's the same thing with anti-vax situations. People don't care how many studies have proved it.
Yeah.
People don't
They
care how many
believe what they
people.
believe.
How
They
many
love they
studies
love
have
the
proved against it.
sensational news. Yeah, they love the sensational news item. Like,
Yeah.
oh wow, a gamer got angry at a studio that makes a game that they like playing, and
Told
Yeah.
you guys, gamers are violent.
yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
just put two and two together, and someone who's never ever seen, what a game is like, or how beautiful games can be, or how powerful they can be for, like, a whole range of people. They're just like, nope, nope. Video games cause violence. Look, that person set the studio alight and killed people. That person
Right.
sent death threats to that person. It's
And-
unhelpful in more ways than just, for the person that's engaging in that kind of, animosity towards a studio that's just trying to,
Right.
in some ways, kind of do the best job they can.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the video game violence thing is a mostly British American thing, right? Like, I don't really see that
Yeah.
happening in other European countries, and I
Yeah,
don't
the,
really
the
see it
dialogue,
happening.
the dialogue is kind of UK/state centric, kind of.
Yeah.
It's
That's
an
where the
easy
dialogue's
target.
coming
We
from.
went over this, I think, last week.
Right, of just
we
being
won't.
a,
So we
like,
won't. We won't go
scapegoat.
too far into it. But yeah, it's really easy. They don't have to appear to be swaying what their beliefs. It's just easy to say video games. Like,
Video games done did it.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
It's
easy
the dog
scapegoat.
ate my homework equivalent.
Yeah.
Of
That is
government.
a perfect
Philosophical
analogy.
arguments.
That is a perfect analogy right there. It's literally become
Right.
the modern day "the dog ate my homework" for
That's
societal
so
ills.
absurd.
Damn video
Right.
games.
Damn these video games and their Mortal Kombat and their Call of
Someone
Duty.
looked at the violent gun deaths or mass shooting deaths, and there's
Right.
no correlation between that and the amount of games played, because of course
Right.
Japan and Korea are up there as well, and there's
Yeah, I
nothing.
think I saw that chart.
And you
It's like
look at the chart.
astronomically high.
Yeah, it's
for
really
the
funny.
US.
Look at the chart. All of them are really low except the US. The US
Yeah,
is
it's like every
huge.
mass murder is like pretty much just the US.
I think, yeah, more mass shootings than days in the year. I think it was in the
Yeah.
last kind of, I think Feb 2019, Feb 2018 to Feb
Yeah.
2019.
We've discussed it, unfortunately, a handful of times. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to have to keep having this conversation, but we have to keep having this conversation because people keep doing this shit. Like, both in
Yeah.
terms of games, in terms of politics, but in terms of the world culture,
It keeps
and
happening. Yeah.
it just keeps happening. And it's just like, I hate to say it, but like, don't get me wrong, there are just crazy people. Like, there's just crazy people out there that do crazy
Yeah.
shit.
Agreed.
I
And
don't. I don't want this to get too political.
I don't know what to do about it. Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah.
we
I
pretty
think
much
this is
nailed
a
the
really
game
good
side.
place to stop. If you're
Agreed.
upset with a game publisher, don't shoot up the place or
Don't
threaten them.
yeah to kill
Please.
them.
Don't make us gamers look worse than we already do right now. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
you're
bitch and
not
complain
doing
the
anyone
normal
any
way.
favors.
Yes, and the most important thing to remember is that if you are ever feeling down, you have the ambassadors of gaming. You have the Games Embassy right here.
Yeah, we
All of
are.
our
We are
podcasts.
here. Tell us. We set. Right now, we are very active in the comments of our videos. So
Okay.
please tell us. Well, we might even end up discussing it on the show. If you have a unique point of view on any of our stories, feel free to leave that. This isn't some
Of
sort of
course.
comment plug. We don't get that many views anyway. So it's
Yeah.
just like we want to talk with our viewers, talk to our listeners. Please just don't do these things.
Absolutely. But
We want good
that
news.
with that being said, do try and check us out at least once a week. Because that's when we post. Am I right, Michael, in saying that?
That is correct.
Good.
Once a week. Try to do every week if possible.
Oh yes. And there is a high chance that you'll like what you'll find. I think you will. And I have been Ambassador Billy.
I'm Ambassador Chris.
And I am Ambassador Michael.
And we will see you next time.
Goodbye, friends.
We're gone.